Hi, I'm Ryan and welcome to day 9 of your 30-day yoga play. This will be a gentle flow and we're actually going to start right away in child's pose to set up our breath. So let's come to a wide-legged child's pose. Bringing the arms slightly forward. Resting comfortably. If this is uncomfortable, you can bring your knees together. Otherwise, I'd like you to take 3 deep breaths and direct your breath into your low back. So let's do breath number 1. So inhale. Feel how your low back is filling up with air, and exhale. Inhale, expand. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now, if you're comfortable with this, you'll seal your lips for the remainder of the practice. Otherwise, it's okay to open your mouth occasionally. Let's come here to all fours. And instead of just doing cat-cows, we're going to come side to side first. So let's twist a little to the left and then a little bit to the right. So as you shift your mid-body to the right, your hips come to the left and vice versa. Just feel how that different movement in your spine feels compared to a cat-cow. Maybe it's nice. If not, let's just come to cat-cow anyway. So here's cow. Now starting at the base of the spine, at the sacrum, shift your pelvis back and roll into cat. Maybe inhale for cow, dip the belly down, look up, and cow. And cat. Okay, here from all fours, let's bring the hands slightly forward and shift into a gentle down dog with bent knees. Let's see how that feels. If that's comfortable already, let's straighten the legs a little more. Keeping that low back, that pelvis shifted forward, and then maybe lowering the ankles all the way down to the mat and shifting back. Try to keep all the knuckles of the hands on the mat. Maybe pulsing backwards a bit to warm up the hamstrings. Maybe even side to side a little bit, catching your balance. And maybe taking a look back, seeing if you can see your ankles. If you can see your ankles, try to hide them behind your feet. And again here, direct your breath to try to fill your belly, but then also feel your low back expanding. So we're going to shift forward here. And we're just going to do a vinyasa here and stop halfway through. So Chaturanga Dandasana, you could do it on your knees here, or you could come into a half plank, half push-up. Now I just want you to shift into upward dog here. Let's have our knees on the mat for a little safety here and practice tucking our tail. So imagine you're a dog and you've got a tail and you want to tuck it underneath, right? So we shift our pelvis back, activate our glutes. That'll protect your low back in a position like this. If this is too much, we can just come down to the elbows, pulling the chest forward and the shoulders back. And again, like I said, tuck your tail. That way you'll prevent back pain in any position like this. And you could always play with what the sensation is like if you just let go or if you tuck your tail, and see which one you like the best. Let's come back here to a downward dog. Just a few breaths here. Walk our feet to our hands. Excuse me. Now fold forward here. Feel a real rounding in your spine here. Now I want you to feel the difference when we do a halfway lift and we've got a straight spine, a strong low back. Maybe even raising your kneecaps slightly for a little bit of activation here, sucking your belly button in for a half lift. Just stay here for a moment, warming up and strengthening our back body, and just fold again and relax. Now, depending on your flexibility, if you can get your hand down to the mat, bring one hand, your right hand, down to the middle. Otherwise, maybe on a block, or maybe just resting your fingertips and just peel open to the left. Now when you peel open to the left, if it's a little too hard to do, you can bend your knees slightly, no problem. Or you could even bend one knee. Or for a little more of a challenge, both legs straight and peeling open. Either way, feel that twist in the torso and try to keep your hips parallel with the front of the mat the whole time, rather than having the hips follow you. Even with a bent knee, the same thing, trying to keep those hips parallel and breathing, ideally through the nose. And come back down here for a second, just relax. On an inhale, we'll come back to that flat back. Feel that strong low back. Maybe tuck your chin slightly so we don't hurt the neck. So this is the half lift that would be part of many flows in vinyasa. And we'll fold again here. And same thing on the other side. It could be on a block. You could have slightly bent knees, depending on your flexibility. And open up. Maybe look up. Come back down and just hang out here for a second. Now let's roll up like we're being pulled from a string at certain points of our spine. Feel like a string is pulling you up to the sky while your head hangs low. Very slowly. Last thing to come up is your neck. Let's stand in Tadasana for a moment here. Hands open to receive. Pelvis tilted slightly back. Pulling your feet together towards each other slightly. Feeling strong and stable. Maybe with your eyes closed. Maybe with a soft gaze. Now let's raise our arms up. Inhale. And exhale, fold. Protecting that low back, we come for a half lift with a strong back, active core. Come down, step back. Let's do a vinyasa here. And again, wherever you're at, you could do your modified vinyasa. But if you're here, I'd like you to, again, tuck your tail, protect your low back, pull your chest forward and your shoulders back, tuck your chin. Maybe hold this for a moment. If it's too much, just take a child's pose. And we'll all come to downward dog. Left foot comes out 45 degrees. Right foot, just a short stance. Bent knee, hips parallel with the front of mat. Warrior one. Exact same concept here. Tilt the pelvis back, tuck your tail, protect the low back. So your left glute should really be active here, protecting you. Coming back down, stepping back. Same thing, Chaturanga Dandasana, or knees, chest, chin. Cobra, or here we are in upward dog, same thing. Tuck your tail. Let's take 3 breaths here. Back to downward dog. Right foot 45 degrees, left foot short stance, warrior 1. Same thing here. Tuck your tail. Strong right glute. Maybe the arms up, maybe at their side. Here we go, back down. Raise the ankle, step back. Chaturanga Dandasana. 3 breaths in Cobra or upward dog. There should be no back pain here. If there is, come to Cobra. If there's pain in Cobra, come to a child's pose. Let's all come back to downward dog, or just remain in your child's pose, no problem. Walk your feet to your hands. And here, we're going to come right away into chair pose. Here, same concept. Strong core. Suck your belly button in. No pain in the low back. You could have a high stance here, or you could really sit down in your chair. Try to point those thumbs out, externally rotating your shoulders to protect the shoulder joint. Maybe leaning back a little, raising off of those feet. The weight should be shifted back, but there should be balance here the whole time. One more breath. And we'll straighten the legs or slightly bent and fold. Just relax, feel that stretch on the back. Direct the breath to the low back again. You could stay here or clasp your hands behind your back. Bring your shoulders back and let them hang forward slightly. One more breath. Relax the arms. Here we're going to come back to a halfway lift again. Now here we're going to hold this for 3 breaths. Tuck your chin slightly, shoulders back, hands above knees or below knees. Feel that strength, feel a slight stretch in your hamstrings, otherwise bend the knees a little bit. One more breath. And we'll just bend the knees and we'll come to a seated position. Here all we're going to do is very quickly just raise the feet off slightly, as if you're going into a boat pose. So ankles are off slightly. Hold your arms out and lean back slightly. Feel how that activates your abdominals. Just hold that for a moment. If you feel like a little more challenge, you could always straighten out the legs. This is gentle yoga, so there's no need. And whenever you're ready, slowly roll back down to a lying position on your mat. Safe and controlled. Legs out, arms out, receiving, or palms down. And take your Shavasana. You can stay in your Shavasana, or if you want to come up, bend one knee and come over to your side. Especially if you take Shavasana for a long time, you want to stay on your side for a moment. Allow the blood flow to adjust. And then gently come up to seated position. Once you've found your comfortable seated position, one last thing we're going to do here is raise the arms up. Now, tuck your tail the same way you did multiple times in this practice. Feel how that feels, and try to straighten your arms all the way up. They might come over only to here, that's fine, but just continue to tuck the tail. Feel that activation in your core. Feel the safety and security in your low back. Bring your palms to heart center. Thanks so much for practicing with me today. Namaste. Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is the tutorial section of day 9 of Yoga Play. So if you haven't done the practice yet, then what we're going to focus on is protecting the low back, preventing low back pain, and tucking your tail, essentially. The difference between just allowing your core to sort of sag down and your back to arch, or really actively engaging your core and protecting your low back, since low back pain is such a common thing in certain yoga poses. So I'm just going to quickly demonstrate what it looks like in, for example, upward dog. You could do the same thing in cobra. So cobra's here. We could do the same thing in upward dog. What we're really doing here, so if you see me do this, you're not going to see much difference when I do this. You barely saw anything. But what I really did here is, imagine you're a dog with a tail, and the dog gets scared and it tucks its tail under, right? So what does it do with its pelvis? It shifts it back. Imagine your low back, you're trying to straighten it out a little bit. There's a natural curve in your lumbar spine here at the bottom. You don't want to completely straighten it, but you probably won't end up completely straightening it if you just tilt it a little bit back. That's going to engage your glutes, and that's going to help protect your low back, especially in a position of stress. So just hanging out here for some people will start to place stress on their lumbar spine. But if we tuck our tail, activate the glutes, you might feel a little bit less strain. It might add some strain to your abdominals, but that's good because you're exercising them. And then you can pull your chest forward and your shoulders back and get deeper into your pose without sacrificing your low back. That's just one example. This concept can be used in many areas of yoga. Just consider it an option. especially when you're in a position where you think your low back is at risk of being in pain, or if you commonly have low back pain after a practice. Now, another thing you can do, especially to relieve the low back, is, for example, when you're in child's pose, practice directing your breath. So I'm here and I breathe in, maybe my chest expands, or maybe I direct my breath lower down and I feel, let's do it especially with the knees together, because then you're sort of stretching it out even more. If I inhale, I allow my low back to expand slightly. It's just a slight thing, but it might be very relaxing and relieving. So practice that a couple breaths. Practice directing your breath as low as it can go down. I know that you don't have lungs down there, but you'll see the way the body works. You can charge that chamber right there and expand your low back, because the front of your body is against your knees ideally. So directing your breath can be done towards any point in your body, and it builds more body awareness, and it helps us with not just our yoga practice, with many things in life, maybe healing from an injury, maybe relaxing certain body parts that are always tense, especially if we constantly stretch something like our hamstrings and nothing ever happens. Maybe directing your mental energy towards it, maybe taking a few breaths and charging up your body and directing your intention to where you're trying to stretch, maybe that will help you out in those situations. And ideally, protecting your back with the method I mentioned earlier will help you prevent any kind of low back pain resulting from yoga or any work or exercise environment. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll see you next time.